Hello, Abhinav and Aashna. So, welcome to my podcast. So, we have named it as A Little More Light. So, basically, we like to throw light on aspirants' journey, the RDLs you have been through, the struggles you have faced. So, I would like to know how did you start preparing for UPSC? I mean, when this dream of getting into civil services start?
Sir, I was working as an investment banker in Mumbai, and it was therein that uh, while I used to make a lot of money, I was staying in Lower Parel, and the area where we lived, I and my friend, that area was surrounded by a lot of slums, and Bombay monsoon creates a lot of problem for the slum
Mm.
dwellers. And so, sir, it was therein that seeing the problems of people daily in and out made me question my decision of going for an MBA after graduation and then working in the corporate sector. So therein I realized that if I continue in this job, I'll make a lot of money, but and I'll be able to do good for myself and my family. But for the larger society, for a lot of people, I may not be able to create that much of change or even a small incremental change. So it was therein, sir, that I decided that civil services is one such platform which would give me that opportunity to create that change, even if it is a small incremental change. So it was therein, sir, that I decided
So, it was
to.
like how many years ago?
So that was in 2020, sir.
2020.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yes, sir.
So, what about you?
Sir, I have never had such a revealing experience like Abhinav. So, I was right after my college. I was looking for options wherein I can experiment or the areas where I could go into and. Corporate was I knew was never my thing. I would
Mm.
eventually want to get into the academics or continue my masters, which I also did side by side
Mm.
after a gap of 1 year.
Masters in?
So, masters in international relations.
Okay. Mm.
So, during that 1 year gap, I casually started looking up the civil services syllabus, and after going through it, I found it interesting, and I thought, okay, I need to study this. This shows the ground realities. This is more practical knowledge compared to the grand theories that we study at the master's level or furthermore for PhD. And that's how I started looking up the issues. And when I got more involved in the preparation, I realized that this can be a very fulfilling career, and this is where I would be able to contribute better to the society. And that's how I decided to get into the services.
Hmm. So once you started preparing, did it change your outlook about, uh, the way you were looking at the world while pursuing the graduation and when you started preparing?
Yes, sir, it did. In fact, it contributed in a very large manner, I would
Hmm.
say, because when I was doing my masters, also the subject of my masters was English literature, which in itself talks more about high culture and how
Hmm.
a very elite or a subject is considered very elite subject. So I was more predisposed towards cultural learnings, towards pursuing high knowledge, but when I started reading the ground realities, I mean, civil services preparation has been an eye opener for me regarding the ground realities. I never, before this preparation, I would say, I knew there are issues related to poverty, related to undernutrition, but the data points that I could see or the research that I did, the various reports published by various
Hmm.
organizations like UNESCO, that created more empathy in me, and that's how I realized that no, there are
Hmm.
larger issues that I need to focus upon.
Okay, like from where did you graduate, both of you, like you?
Sir, I did my graduation from Delhi Technological University, which was formerly Delhi College of
Hmm.
Engineering.
And then you did masters also,
I
right?
did MBA from Indian Institute of Management, Calcutta.
Okay, so what about you?
I did my graduation from Lady Shri Ram College
Hmm.
in English literature, and then I pursued my master's in international relations from South Asian University.
Okay, so why did you switch, from English literature to international relations?
Sir, I would say as I started preparing for civil services, my interest also developed regarding international relations, and
Hmm.
I realized that I need to study this subject as well. Though I haven't left English altogether, I prepare to work more in the discipline. I also did an online course in literature on globalization and theaters. So I was pursuing literature side by side, but I thought simultaneously while preparing for civil services, I would not be able to give time to a subject I love so much. So, and that's how I decided to switch and learn new things as well.
Okay. So both of you graduated from prestigious colleges. How did that prepare you for the civil services? Did it really help you? And because you didn't crack this exam in one single attempt, right? Like how do you see this?
Yes, sir. I think graduating from a college has certain advantages also. So, firstly, with respect to the technical knowledge or with respect to my graduation subject, I was able to understand the subject better, and it was the institution which helped me get a thorough understanding, technical understanding of the subject. Second, sir, the extracurricular activities and the other activities such as the literary society, the entrepreneurship society, the dramatics club.
So you participated in
I
all.
participated in these activities in these clubs also. So that also I think added something to my overall personality. And thirdly, sir, there is an ecosystem in every university, every college, and this is true for every college, not just to some colleges. And that ecosystem gives you certain inputs regarding what career you want to opt for. So there were people, there were seniors who had prepared for civil services and who had cracked civil services. The people who wanted to pursue MBA, the people who wanted to pursue MS and further do engineering. So it was this ecosystem also which gave me certain inputs, and this enhanced my avenues, or this enhanced my options as to what career path I want to take. So in these three ways, I think my college helped me, and every college does that.
So what about LSR? How did it help you?
Talking about LSR, LSR has provided a very safe space for me as a woman. So this was a space for us to thrive, for a community. I mean, it was not a college in itself, but a community wherein women are participating, cooperating. There are diverse experiences that are shared within that space. So I was taken out of a competitive environment wherein boards at the school level get very competitive, and I was placed in a cooperative environment, and that has really helped shape my journey.
So why do you think you didn't make it in first attempt? So why it took more than one attempt?
Sir, I would say that I could not do it in first attempt because my focus has been more on knowledge acquisition rather than focusing more on practice and revision as well. So I did not put equal emphasis on revision and practice, and that has harmed me in the form of failing my first and second attempt. And at the same time, I would say I underestimated the importance of current affairs in the exam, and that has really harmed.
So how did you practice? I think you were in the Delhi core batch.
Yes, sir.
For certain, I think you wrote so many answers there.
Yes, yes. So for prelims, sir, I used to write as many mocks as possible. For mains also, sir, though I didn't do daily answer writing, but yes, I wrote many answers, and this helped me even in my first attempt when I got a good score in GS, and subsequently also, sir, I ensured that I'm writing many mocks so as to enhance the structuring content as well as the presentation of my answers.
Now, how did you maintain that motivation of writing constantly, and you got through one attempt, and then again you wanted to excel in another attempt?
The motivation came from my purpose of why do I want to join civil services,
The
and
things you
because
witnessed in Mumbai.
because the purpose was very clear in the beginning. So I was not required to seek motivation from outside, or I was not required to seek any external motivation. So it was that purpose which was very clear, and that purpose acted as a constant motivator and enabled me to further work hard through the subsequent attempts.
So how did you bounce back from your first two failures?
First failure, I was really disappointed. It was really difficult for me to come out of that zone wherein I was depressed, and really it was disheartening for me. And but I knew that I cannot be constantly whining about the same thing. So I need to take a practical approach and start preparing for the next attempt, which I did, but which I was able to do in about 1.5 weeks. So
Mhm.
after I resumed my studies, I tried to rectify my mistakes. So assessed where I went wrong, identified lack of practice and revision as the key factors that led to me not clearing the exam. So that has been there. After I started again, in the next attempt, I missed prelims by only 2.5 marks. So I could see a significant improvement in my performance. So my second failure I did not see it as failure, rather an improvement, a significant improvement. And a thought entered me that if I could improve so much in 1 year, if given another year, I would definitely be able to crack, which I was able to.
So when did you bring this element of practice, rigorously into your preparation?
The element of practice was after failing the first attempt. So after
Okay.
failing first attempt, I focused more on practice and revision, which has helped me significantly. However, I could not clear still by a close margin. And again, I realized that after a great assessment, I realized that current affairs has been a major roadblock for me as well. So that's how after second failure, there was an emphasis on current affairs this time.
So did you read hard copy newspaper, or did you rely on ready-made sources?
Sir, I read hard copy newspapers, and then I supplemented it with other online sources as well.
Okay. So how many answers you might have written? Just can you give an estimation?
Sir, I would have written a lot of answers. I do
Yeah, I
not.
know you have written so many answers. That's why.
So, sir, for this attempt, I wrote around 25 mocks for GS. So, 20 questions each. So, around 500 questions I would have written for this attempt.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Did you expect rank 12?
No, sir, I was not expecting rank 12. I was.
Why?
Because
You did all the practice, so.
I did all the practice, sir. I was confident of getting a good score in GS. But optional was my Achilles heel. So I was not sure as to what marks I would get in optional. And I was praying to get a decent score in optional so that I get through.
Okay, so which is your optional and how much did you score?
So sociology is my optional. In my first attempt when I got into Danix, my score was 213.
Okay.
And this year it has fortunately improved to 292.
292 is one of the highest scores, I think.
Yes, sir. So optional was where I was always concerned, and optional was what pulled me back in my first attempt. So because of optional, I was not expecting.
So what amendments you made to the optional,
Sir, firstly, knowledge part, I ensured that I'm reading the original text of the thinkers,
Okay.
the original sociological text, so that I'm able to grasp what the thinkers have said and convey it to the examiner. Secondly, sir, with respect to answer writing, I had a I had a different approach in my first attempt, and this time I used a different approach. I ensured that I'm not writing mechanical answers, which I did in my first attempt. I tried to make answers organic and present them in a better way. And third was that to do more answer writing, sir, with respect to optional.
Your optional?
My option was anthropology.
Okay, how much did you score?
I have scored 285.
Oh, still good. No, how did you prepare for anthro?
Sir, for anthro, I did not refer to the ready-made material that is found in the market, but I referred to the core books that there
Very
are.
good.
So the ones that are generally neglected by students. So I did not neglect that, and my focus has been more on understanding the thinkers and how how their evolution has been, how the evolution of the subject has been, how the subject has come out of the clutches of colonialism and has developed into a discipline which is studied in India, wherein Indian anthropologists have also contributed a great deal. So I did not study the subject mechanically, but I delved deeper into the subject. I tried to understand. There were certain articles that I would pick online and would read them as well. So in case I am reading about LP Vidyarthi sir and his work, so I would also look up other sources that other things that he has written apart from the material that I'm reading. So I try to focus my attention more on the original papers that were published rather than the summary of those. So that's how I think
that is what trend we are seeing nowadays. Those who are going for original primary sources, they're able to do well in their respective papers. So, for the benefit of our viewers, can you just mention 2-3 standard books in sociology that you refer
So
to?
George Ritzer, Introduction to Sociology, Harlambos and Harlambos. It is also a book on sociology, covers various topics of sociology. and such NCRTs
Any
of.
blogs or any journals that?
So no, sir, I refer to NCRT, also Indian
Okay.
Society, and these two books.
Mm-hmm.
So these were largely the
Okay.
material I
So,
referred to.
what about anthropology?
Sir, about anthropology, I read P. Nath's Physical Anthropology. For
Mm-hmm.
Sociocultural Anthropology, there is a book called In Search of Asas by Ved Sir, so I read
Mm-hmm.
that. And for Tribal and Indian Anthropology, I did Nadeem Hasnain Sir's books, eponymous books, same name, Indian Anthropology and Tribal Anthropology. So these are the sources that I refer to. Apart from that, I refer to certain papers that are published by American
Mm-hmm.
Anthropological Society. So,
Okay, okay. Like, did you discover by yourself or did somebody recommend you to do?
sir, it was mentioned in the research methodology. So, as part of
Okay.
paper 1, Unit 8 research methodology,
Mm-hmm.
American Anthropological Society was mentioned.
So you went
So, I
visited.
looked it up. Yes,
Very
sir.
good. So what about knowledge of English literature? Were you able to use it in your essays? How much did you score in essay?
In essay, I scored 125.
Not bad. It's a good
Yes,
score this
sir.
time. Mm.
I think the vocabulary part has really helped me, but
Mhm.
apart from that, the examples I generally kept it general or
Okay.
more comprehensible.
So what is your essay score?
So 121.
121. Okay.
So just
Still,
an average score, I think.
no, it is above average this year. The average score is somewhere around 105 to 110 this year. The essay score has come down because of the nature of the topics and wrong selection of topics by most of the candidates. So what I noticed is that those who have strong English literature knowledge and those who have leveraged that knowledge in their essays, they have done well actually. There is one Vivekanandan, 149, he got essay, and he has English literature background. I was reading one of his sample essays written on some test series portal. So he had littered with uh, what, like T.S. Eliot, Dickens, and so many authors and poets, Robert Frost and all. So I think the what do you think about the trend? The evolving nature of UPSC. Now you are preparing and you have been through this exam, you have passed it. So looking at the trend, looking at the nature of the questions, what do you think?
All right, sir.
From a topper's perspective, or
Yes,
from an aspirant perspective, what do you think?
we have seen prelims paper
Hmm.
evolved or changed, being unpredictability more being the trend in prelims these days. So the paper has come now itself. So I would say that if it is difficult for one, it is difficult for all, and you need to maintain a positive approach and try to tackle it in the similar manner. And if in CSAT paper we have seen questions from maths getting a little difficult, so there are other questions from reasoning and comprehension as well. Those can be taken care of. Talking about mains, yes, we have seen questions not being asked directly, but being linked with current affairs and then asked. So, if they're putting so much thought in the questions, if they are beautifully putting up questions for you, then they also require you to answer in the same manner. So rather than answering in a way that it has been mentioned in the static books, I would highly suggest that you answer in a way wherein you are able to mention some current events as well. So fusion of current and static would be a good approach in that manner.
Mhm. So okay, so what do you think about this evolving nature of UPSC? I mean, what is it trying to test in a candidate?
Sir, I agree with what Ashna has said, that there needs to be a fusion of current and the. If you look at general studies means in optional, we find that each of them is getting a bit more difficult. Essays, philosophical essays have started coming up, and that is really now testing people's ability to have analytical skills, to
Mhm.
have coherence of thoughts and coherence of opinion, and to weave different themes around that philosophical essay, summarize it, or give different dimensions to it.
So in this scenario, how do you think an average aspirant should prepare? Like, some people are fortunate that they can get good education, maybe good coaching also. But there are vast number of students who may not be able to get that kind of support. So what do you think? How should they prepare?
Sir, I would say that they can prepare from various sources, not be limited to one coaching, for instance. And I would strongly advise that they keep an integrated approach rather than treating the three stages in silos. This exam has been designed in a way that it is integrated. These are the three stages of the same process. So you also treat them as the three stages of the same process and acquire your knowledge in a similar manner.
So did you face any self doubt at any stage of preparation that you felt like I will quit and
There were many such points during my preparation. So it has been, I have given 3 years of my life to the preparation for this exam. And if I were not able to score well, I started questioning my decision to come into this domain. But every time I was able to overcome this because I had a broader objective in mind, a deeper motive in mind. And whenever I thought about that, I said, okay, all this hard work is worth it and I need to reach there. So, yes, I will work hard.
Okay, so going back to earlier discussion, where this exam has become dynamic and uncertain, do you think relevance of coaching institutions is getting eroded or reduced? What do you think? Like, be honest, it's okay.
We see there is a structural change in this ecosystem which has
Mhm.
happened and is happening post COVID. So because of COVID, there was a shift towards online medium. Due to that shift, people are preferring that they are enrolling for different courses from different platforms or different teachers. So yes, sir, the coaching industry is evolving, and I think it would evolve to fulfill the needs. But now the students have also become independent and a bit more capable to find out things on their own because they've got used to the online resources, online tools. So both of the factors are acting simultaneously.
So, how did you choose your information and sources? Because, as you were saying, there is so much of diversity, so much of excessiveness, in terms of information. So, how did you filter it?
Sir, I refer to the previous year toppers blogs,
Hmm.
their videos, and I used to follow the sources suggested by them. So it was largely their strategy which I used to copy, and things worked for me.
I followed the similar things. So
Mhm.
I still remember regarding my anthropology preparation, I still remember there was a topper's talk by Akshay Jain sir. And I referred to that and I blindly followed his strategy, which has brought me here today.
Like right now, what are you thinking? I mean, you have become topper now, right? Is only Labasna or beyond Labasna? Like, are there any thoughts about civil services challenges that you are going to face in coming days? Have you thought about them?
Generally one does think about as to what would one do in the
Mhm.
longer term. So I and others, we always think that okay, in the short term we'll be working in the policy execution as say SDM initially, then ADM, then
Mhm.
collector, district magistrate, and then afterwards we'll work in the policy execution. So it brings excitement to.
So you have visualized, thought about it all the time, huh? So good. What about you? Like,
So there are similar thoughts, and I would say, as much as I'm excited to go to Labasna and learn more, it has also started preparing us for the journey. So we have been given an assignment. So there was an assignment wherein you had to visit some primary healthcare centers, you
okay.
had to visit some government schools. So I think we are getting prepared, and this is the time we are exploring and we are understanding the issues associated or the challenges that are in the longer term. We are also coming up with our frame of mind as to how we will be able to tackle these challenges coming forward, that we would be involved in the policy formulation process as well in the longer run.
So what is the single advice that you would like to give, to any civil services aspirant?
My humble advice would be to not lose optimism, have faith and conviction in oneself and in the efforts oneself is putting, and to have a honest strategy towards preparation. If someone doesn't want to study for some time, for a day, for 2 days, then one should take time off and then one should start studying again. So one should be honest with oneself in the preparation.
What is your message?
I was gonna emphasize upon honesty as well, which he has taken away from me now. So, yes, honesty is the key here. So, you have to be honest in your preparation, you have to be honest in your intentions as well. So, if you're there, that would be reflected in your personality, that would be reflected in your answers, and I think that would also help you long way into the services.
So thank you so much for accepting this invitation to be part of this conversation. And I see two bright officers, getting into civil services. I really appreciate the clarity you both have about, what you want to become and the things you have done. So wish you all the best and thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.